Okay, so good morning, everybody. Um, so let's start off with wins. I want to hear some wins. Anybody have any wins? Anybody sell anything? Anybody list anything? Anybody sign a buyer agency? Anybody close anything?
I have a win.
Okay, who's this?
This is Robin. I've already shared this with Rob, but it was kind of cool. I have a property up in Harvardale that I have an unrepresented buyer on.
Robin, stop for a minute. I'm going to mute everybody and unmute you. Okay, you're unmuted, Robin.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so I have a property under contract up in Harvardale that's under contract with an unrepresented buyer who's an investor, and he's a super cool guy, super great vision. Anyway, everything's going super smooth with that transaction. Last week, I had some neighbors of mine ask me to show him some homes, and he stated to me very clearly that they're looking for something that would be an investment, but they're buying it for themselves, that they want to buy smart. So I showed them a couple of homes, and I basically said, this home has money. I go, that home probably has $500,000 of equity. You just got to put it in, and here's what you do. And I walked them through what the remodel would look like and how you do it and how you get the highest and best out of that property. And then over the weekend, they thought about it, and they decided they don't want to do a big project, which I was like, you don't get both. Like, you can't, it's not the way it works, right?
Right.
Anyway,
and have equity
so
and no project.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm literally giving you on a silver platter, like, exactly what you wanted. And they're like, well, we're not sure if we want to do a project. So I promptly picked up the call. I called my buyer investor for my other property where I'm representing the seller. And I literally sent him a text that said, I found you money. Do you want to see it? And he's like, yeah. And so we went out, we looked at it, we spent a couple hours there, we walked through a line item budget. I mean, we went through the whole thing. And the guy's just amazing because he gets it. Put it under contract. So, yeah, it was just kind of awesome because I'm like, dude, I just made a buyer out of the buyer that I'm representing the seller. So it's kind of fun. And this is the guy who does properties. So if I just keep finding him money, like he's just going to keep buying with me anytime I find him money.
And you have a whole lot less competition when you're looking for investments in the upper prices. You know, when you get down to the $200,000 price range, I mean, the margins, I mean, you're lucky to make $10,000.
Agreed. And that's, I mean, you got to look at where margins are like 2 to, minimum of 200, I think. And then you like, I think this Pepperwood property has probably about 400,000 to 500,000 profit in it. I really do.
That'll work.
Yeah.
Hey, awesome. when you look at those kind of numbers, and if you miss by $100,000, you still made a fortune.
Exactly.
So, okay.
Exactly.
Great win. I'm going to unmute everybody. So listen, guys, boys and girls, if you're in a noisy area, please mute yourself in some form or fashion, and try to eliminate the noise. Okay. So who else has some wins? I know nobody likes to follow Robin. So who else has wins? So nobody? All right. If nobody has any more wins, so what did you guys do all last week? Come on, guys. So if nobody has any wins, I'm going to go ahead and go into struggles. So what are some things that people are struggling with? What kind of objections are you getting? In other words, if you're making calls, if you're talking to people, what kind of objections are you getting?
That they won't open up. I mean, I've had quite a few that won't open up, and they were expired listings. I couldn't quite get them to open up, no matter what questions I asked them.
Right. Well, a lot of that has to do, too. I mean, some people just aren't going to open up, but it has to. Sometimes it boils down to rapport, right? And so there's some things you can do with rapport to help you get into rapport faster. One is mirror matching their rate of speech, right? So if they're a fast talker, you need to be a fast talker. If they're a slow talker, you have to slow down. And so you have to kind of listen to their we used to have an affirmation. I pick up on people's accents and use it ever so slightly in my speech patterns. So one time I had an agent that was listening to me prospect, and where we had the splitter where he could tap in and had another headset listening to me. And the guy on the other end of the phone, the prospect, was as an Asian guy that had broken English. And Asians, when they speak in broken English, they kind of chop, you know. And so I started chopping a little bit with them, you know. And the other agent that was listening thought I was making fun of him. But I'm like, I wasn't. I was actually honoring him by speaking the way he speaks. You know, and not like, full-on British accent type of imitation, but just ever so slightly pick it up. Listen for vowel sounds, and then kind of do it, and then try and use those same vowel sounds a little bit. Now, you don't have to do it the whole time you speak to them. You just need to do it ever so slightly every once in a while, just to build rapport. Because once rapport happens, then you don't need to do it anymore. You can go back to your normal cadence and everything. So I'll give you another story. I had two young guys that were working on my team. They were calling. I used to generate leads through magazine ads, and they would call an 800 number. And in the morning when they came in, we'd print out the list and give them to the agents to start calling back the magazine leads. And so, the 800 call capture leads. So there was this one guy that, they would report to me after, a certain time of day. And I said, how did it go? And they both mentioned that this guy that wanted to come down to the office and beat them up, right? And I'm like, give me the phone number, right? So I said, which guy is it? I had them listen in on the splitter. They kind of shared the ear, but I had them split in. I called the guy. He was, of course, visibly upset. But I heard him say, but I could tell that he was of Latin descent and he was from L.A. I can just tell by the accent. And so he started ranting, and then when I got a chance to jump in there, I did what's called a pattern interrupt. When somebody's ranting, you got to interrupt their pattern. And so I just said, hey, where you from? The way he said it, because I could tell he was from East L.A. Or, I could tell he's from that area. So I said, where you from? And he goes, I'm from East L.A. I said, you're from East L.A.? And then as soon as I mirror and matched him, he just calmed right down. Within a minute or two, I was getting his home phone number because he had managed to call from his cell phone, and now he's getting a bunch of calls on his cell phone. He was annoyed. But at the end of the call, he gave me his home phone number and told me to call him at the end of the evening. Now, this is the end of the day in the early evening. This is the same guy that wanted to come and beat the other two up, but I was able to connect with him and build rapport quickly. The thing is, it's quickly. Now, on the phone, some people say you want to look for things. Oh, you like horses? I like horses too. Well, that doesn't mean everybody that likes horses likes each other. So the reason why you want to match rates of speech and vowel sounds ever so slightly, because think about this. Robin, you have 4 boys, right? And except if their voices have, but the three, I'm sure the older one, his voice has changed some. But if you have males, sons that are, the 3 younger ones that voices hasn't changed yet. If I called the house and any one of them said hello, I wouldn't know which one it is. I wouldn't be able to tell because they all sound alike. And so everybody in your tribe sounds like you do, right? So everybody that grows up learning how to speak, they learn to speak for their parents and their older siblings. So they all have kind of similar sound. Now, they may not sound the same to you because you don't sound like you to you, right? When you ever hear yourself on a recording and you're like, who's that? And the whole room's like, you, right? Because you don't sound like you to you, because when you speak, your sound goes up your bones in your ears. When you speak to me, your sound travels across the room into my ears. So big difference. So when I started mimicking your rates of speech and vowel sounds, I start sounding like I'm from your tribe. Then I become a very safe voice. And then your defenses come way down. Now, it's a skill that takes a long time to learn. You have to get it right away. You have to jump in there and hear it and just start doing it right away. Rate of speech is the easiest one to do. If they talk fast, because you ever listen to somebody that talks really, really slow, what's your first impression? That they're not that smart. Well, that's not a scientific fact. And people that speak slow think that people that talk fast are, not to be trusted. They're city slickers. They're fast talkers. Now, I'm a fast talker, so the whole scientific, it's not a scientific fact that people that speak fast are not to be trusted, because I'm a fast talker and they don't come any more trusted than me. So, I'm a very trustworthy guy. So anyway, does that make sense? Did I lose anybody? My plug in.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay, I want to make sure I got everybody, because I know I went on a rant and one of those 30-minute sentences. So, does that answer your question, Renee? She muted herself.
Yeah.
Good. Got it. So start trying that. Start trying the rates of speech, and you should all try that when you're talking to people. And like I said, you don't have to do it forever. You just have to do it to get the report. So, somebody's calling somebody. So somebody's using Google Hangouts, and they're getting a call. So, see, once you tell them what it is, then they know who they're talking to. Then they realize that you can hear the sound. So anyway, any other struggles that people are struggling with? Any other objections? Y'all know what an objection is, right? Sales is a series of questions that leads people to a decision, right? Sales is a series of questions that leads people to a decision. Now, an objection is simply an unanswered question in the mind of a prospect. So let me give you a real common one. Let's say you're out showing a buyer a home, and you ask the buyer, hey, what do you think about this house? Do you like the kitchen? Yeah. Do you like this? Yeah. Do you want to make an offer? Well, we don't like the carpet. Well, so let me ask you a question. So that's an objection, right? Because an objection can be overcome where a condition cannot be overcome, right? So we'll talk about that in a second. So they say, well, I don't like the carpet. So, well, let me ask you this. If the seller was willing to replace the carpet, would you buy it? That technique is called isolate the objection, then remove it, right? So we're trying to remove the objection that they gave us and trying to isolate if that's really the issue. So then I say, look, if the seller were willing to replace the carpet, would you buy the house? Well, we really don't like the area. Okay, great. It was never the carpet. That's called a hidden objection. Now, the neighborhood is a condition. You can't change the neighborhood, but you can change the carpet. If they say they don't like the area, find out what it is they don't like about the area. So what is it about the area you don't like? And obviously try and stay away from federal violations about race, creed, color, religion, all that kind of good stuff, right? So, but get into that and but find out what's going on, and then find out, and then remove the objection, and then bring it back to them and see if it still is the objection. So, does that make sense?
Yes.
So, any other questions? Any other struggles or objections people are getting out there? So if you were on the role play call this morning, we talked about, so we're doing now role play 4 days a week at 8 a.m. They're going to be recorded. And the way it works is, we're going to pick one script. We're going to, everybody, we'll pick a partner. I usually lead off first and give the first one. And then, somebody, a partner with me. And then when I'm finished, then somebody else, and then other people try it as well. And the more you learn these role play, and now you need to get role play partners in addition to this, because this is more of a role play school than it is a role play partner. Because once you get that, you almost want to have a different partner for every day of the week. So that way you're not, because if you role play with the same person day in and day out, you're not going to grow. You need to role play with other people, and also remember when you are role playing that it's always a positive experience, meaning stick to the script, always give them what they want, give them the appointment, unless they ask for a specific objection, then don't give it to them. And just don't read anything into it. Let them go through the script. The whole idea is, is to practice the scripts so that you can internalize them so that they are commonplace. You don't have to think. See, the beauty is when you no longer have to think about what to say, then you can focus on how they're behaving. Because you could say something and they could squirm or do a body language that you don't pick up on because you're thinking about now what to say. When you don't have to think about what to say, you now have a lot more power to focus on them and their behavior. Because they'll give you little nuances, little clues that if you have to think about what to say all the time, you're going to miss those clues. Does that make sense? That's the power of a script. And like the script we did this morning was just a simple SOI call. I'll run through it. There's 5 lines, right? It just says, hi, this is Rob. This is a business call. Do you have a minute for me? So who do you know that would like to buy or sell real estate in the next 7 to 10 days? And then they'll say, well, I can't think of anybody. Okay. And then I always repeat and affirm, okay, you can't think of anyone. Great. So and then the next question says on the script book, can you think of anyone? Then it says and then it's parentheses, church group, family, neighborhood, or office. Now, the idea of that list of things to ask is if you ask somebody specific questions like Richard and I were playing. Richard lives in a townhouse community, and there's some seniors in there, and they're 2-story properties. I mean, you pull in the garage. I mean, it's 1-level living, but you got to go up a flight of stairs to get to that 1 level. So the question for him, Richard, so instead of, you don't read the list, who do you know in your church group, family, blah, blah, blah. You say, hey, Richard, who do you know in your community that maybe if they're getting up in age and could use a single-family living? Let's say you're talking to young people. Who do you know that maybe just got married recently or just got engaged or just had a baby recently that may be looking to buy a home? If you're talking to somebody that's like, who do you know that's got older kids living at home, right? If you're talking to somebody in their 40s, late 40s, early 50s, who do you know that's got older kids living at home where kids might be looking to, move out, buy a house, or their kids are moving out and they want to get rid of their, they've raised their children and they have a 3,800 square foot 2-story home and a 2,000 square foot Rambler is going to do it. They don't need that big giant house anymore. So it's kind of like know who it is you're talking to when you ask the specific question. So I'll back up and I'll say, so I'll do what I asked Richard. So who do you know, Richard, in your community that is in a 2-story that could use a 1-level living? And then he goes, oh yeah, by the way, blah, 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 whatever. And, then the next question says, would you mind if I gave them a call? Now, it's hard to get the numbers out of them, but when you're the agent in a role play, you give them a name and a number, right? It's, Jane Doe, 555-1212. And then the next line is, by the way, when do you plan on moving? Right? It's that simple. All I did was ask 5 simple questions, but they're conversational. It's real simple. It's a simple exercise. It's a simple script. I recommend you practice it on each other. I mean, if you practice this every day, if you did this about 3 or 4 times a day, if you read through this, if you read it really fast 5 times in a row, role play with somebody on the phone, and did that for a week, you'd have that script down. Okay? So we're going to go through that, and then every day we're going to work on something, and then eventually by soon we're going to start getting into the pre-qualifying, the listing appointment, the listing appointment. We're going to start breaking that down and role playing on the phone, and then I'd like to maybe set it up to maybe where once a week, where we go live and meet in a room. We can meet at the National Title has an office, or they have a classroom in an office at the Board of Realtors campus, where we can actually sit in there and do live listing presentations. And we can record them with your phone. So if you want a presentation, we'll use your phone, record you, and then you can take it home and watch it over and over and over, and watch your body language. Watch when you do the ums, and I know I do that a lot. However, but you need to focus on that, and so you can become more professional. Because a presentation, it's showtime. All it is like if you listen to, one of the famous speeches of all time, there's Jack Nicholson, right, in the movie A Few Good Men, where he does the speech on the witness stand where Tom Cruise is drilling him, and then he finally admits he did give the order. But before that, he's like, I'm the guy on the line. I'm the guy you want on the line. Things like that. He goes in, you can't handle the truth, that whole speech. Now, do you think he got up there and just like winged it? Or do you study the script? No, that was a script. Somebody else wrote it. And then what he did is he delivered it. So obviously he rehearsed that thing over and over and over. Now, and then because the reason why it was his personality was because he internalized it. Once it's internalized, then your personality comes through. So if you try and change it to make it sound like you're screwing it up. Don't do that. You don't have permission to do that until you internalize these scripts so well that you can start pulling dialogue questions. Because all it is a simple set of questions, right? Hi, this is Rob. This is a business call. Do you have a minute for me? Question number 1. Yes. Number 2, who do you know that would like to buy or sell real estate in the next 7 to 10 days? Question number 3. That was 2. Question number 3. Can you think of any? And they'll say, well, I can't think of anyone. Can you think of anyone in your area that maybe just got married recently? Or, if they're young, any of your friends just recently got married, they may need my services at this time. Great. Would you mind if I give them a call? That's question number 4. By the way, when do you plan on moving? Question number 5. These are just simple questions that you can just ask and have a conversation with them. But try and get back on the script. Now, don't try and over dramatize the question. Just simply ask the question. Do you have a minute for me? Simple question, right? Who do you know that would like to buy or sell real estate in the next 7 to 10 days? Simple question. Can you think of anyone in your family that may need my services at this time? Would you mind if I gave them a call? How simple of questions are they? And then by internalizing these and mastering that particular script, it's kind of like an exercise, too. You ever watch football teams practice? They got guys running through tires. Well, they don't run through tires in a game. But that's just an exercise so that if you do this script often enough, then when you're on the phone with people, it's just going to naturally flow out of you. It'll just say, hey, when do you plan on moving? Very simple question. So anyway, excuse me. So anyway, that's all I got for now. Anybody else have any questions? Thoughts, concerns, hallucinations? Last chance. And then I'm going to get going here because I got to prepare for a 10 o'clock appointment. So if that's all you got, I'm going to end the call and the recording. And you guys have a wonderful day. Remember, get on the phones, call somebody. Have to call somebody.
Thank you, Rob.
See ya.
No, thanks.
Thanks.